Hi, I'm Gargi and this is Akshay. We are going to do some nature journaling with you today. We love nature journaling because it allows us to ask question after question after question and still gives us plenty more layers to explore. It lets us explore different ways to simplify the complexities of the natural world on paper.
Today we're going to be doing the activity event comic from the book How to Teach Nature Journaling, written by John Muir-Laws and Emily Ligren. You can do this activity along with us while watching this video. To participate, you will each need a pencil and a journal or a piece of paper. In this activity, you will be making a comic strip about an exciting moment you witnessed in nature, like the blackbirds mobbing a hawk, or a lizard catching its prey, or a squirrel finding an acorn.
It does not need to be a big dramatic event for it to be an exciting subject to focus on for making a comic. Events like birds sitting on a telephone wire or a slug eating the plants in your garden, or maybe just a spider walking around the web are great subjects too.
After you've witnessed an interesting event like this, come back to the video and we will journal together. If you're not able to go outside at the moment or haven't seen anything interesting in animal behavior recently, you could also watch a short nature video and document that in a comic strip.
So pause the video, gather what you need, and then we'll begin. First, we will start by sharing as much as we can out loud about the interesting nature moment. How many animal or animals were there? What were they doing? How were they interacting with each other and with the organisms around them? Where were they?
For example, Gargi and I are making a comic strip about how our new ghost mantis ends up feeding on these melanogaster fruit flies. So, I will be showing a point of view of how the fruit fly ends up in this mantis's tummy.
And I will be drawing about how the praying mantis uses its speedy hands to catch hold of the fruit flies.
Pause the video and discuss what you noticed in your animal interactions.
Now that you've had some time to share your observations you made of the animals, let's think about how to put that in the form of a comic strip.
Pause the video and discuss what elements of a comic book make it exciting to look at or are more effective in telling a story. Here are some of our ideas to make a comic look engaging and good for storytelling.
A general rule of thumb for making the comics look interesting is to draw frames that move left to right and top to bottom. That makes it easier for the user to look at them. Another thing that you could play with are different frame variations. You could have frames that are very tall or very wide or have multiple broken smaller frames. You could also have frames with very irregular shapes. They could also be round, triangular, or whatever you feel like. Another interesting idea would be to break the fourth wall of the frame. You could have your subjects jump out of the frame, like in this case. This honeybee is trying to jump out of the frame to create some dramatic effect. Some other ideas would also be to introduce sound effects in your frames. You could draw your subject and associate a sound with the action that it's performing. If it's falling, you could say thud. In this case, if it's eating, you could add gulp and add some lines around the frame. Some other ways to add intensity to your frame would be to make your frame diagonal. Using diagonal layouts, make it look more interesting sometimes.
You can use captions or words to tell the story, or to elaborate on what is going on in the comic panel. There are many different styles of comic and graphic novels. Some use more words, and some use more pictures. If you're more comfortable drawing, you can make a comic strip that has more pictures. If you're more comfortable writing, You can rely on words more to tell your story. Alright, let's get to journaling. Take the animal behavior you observed and make a comic strip to show your story. Use some of the ideas we shared and some of the ideas you came up with to make the comic strip dynamic and exciting. Then, we will come back together to discuss our journal entries.
Pause the video and get journaling. Now that we're back, let's look at our journal entries and talk about what we have noticed. Here's what my journal entry looks like. I have an interesting title here. It's called Eat O'Clock. My mantis is hungry. There's some food that gets dropped into its container and its antennae start moving. The mantis slowly approaches the fruit fly. Its abdomen starts moving and snap, it catches its prey and enjoys the meal. In order to add the comic effects, I've added this title. I've included these lines to show the movement in the antennae and the sound effects to add some drama. I've also added some movement and loud sound effect of snap in this frame. And finally, I've shown a hungry, satisfied mantis.
So here is my journal entry. I've done it from the perspective of the fly Melanogaster, aka Melano. Here is Melano's house. This is Melano. Every morning, Melano's house is tapped, bam bam, and Melanogasters fall all the way to the bottom and then they're tapped out. Once they come out out of the jar, here's Melano feeling he's super free, but then look who comes along. There is Mr. Mantis, and whoosh, he doesn't waste any time to grab its prey. Crunch, crunch, Melano gets eaten, and that's the end for him. But the life cycle goes on. Here are some comic effects I've used in my journaling. For example, the sound effects. Woo, wish, and whoosh as the Melanogaster flies out. There's also this depth effect which adds a lot of climax to my story, including this diagonal effect. I've also added these vertical comic sections along with this nice horizontal view to end the whole thing.
Take a moment to share with someone else about the strategies you used to tell the story in your comic.
Now we're going to take some time to think about the animal behaviors we have observed. Why might have the animal or animals that you observed behaved in the way they did? For example, my Melanogaster fruit fly was moving all throughout almost till the end. And I wondered, was the mantis not injecting any poison and is that why it could move? Pause the video and talk about it in your journal entry.
What might have happened after you stopped watching the animal? And why do you think that? In my case, I wonder if the mantis would become slow from the food that it's trying to digest, or if it will become very active from the new energy it's received.
Do you think these animals might have acted differently under different conditions? For example, in another weather pattern during a different time of the year, or in the presence of some other organisms. Why do you think that? In my case, do you think Mr. Mantis would have gone against its basic instincts and still eaten Melano if it was really full? Pause the video and think about what your animal would have done. One last question for you. What parts of your journaling process helped you learn something new? For example, brainstorming around why the mantis did what it did helped us get new perspectives and ask better questions. Okay, pause the video and discuss what parts of your journaling process helped you learn something new.
Thank you for journaling with us. If you want to purchase the book How to Teach Nature Journaling by John Muir Laws and Emily Ligren, or download a PDF of the book for free, check out the links below.